Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Kristy Jo.
Welcome to another Body Buddies podcast. I'm Kristy Jo, mind and body strategist, and I'm very excited you're here. If you are returning, welcome back. If you are new here, I hope you'll hang around and hit that subscribe button. I have a lot of information to teach you. If you have ever wondered why this diet and nutrition and fitness industry, which by the way is a $3 trillion industry, seems to have so many answers yet no answers at the same time, then you're in the right place. I bridge the gap between the hard to understand science and the everyday application for busy people to make body composition as well as a healthy mindset around our bodies possible. Go ahead and head over to powerfoodslifestyle.com to grab your copy of my book, The Power Foods Lifestyle. It is free. You just help with shipping. And this is a really fun way for me to give back to the community. Not only do I give you the paperback book, which is valued at $16 if you get it on Amazon, but I also give you some bonuses. You're going to get the Audible, or not the Audible edition, you're going to get the audio copy, and you'll also get a digital copy so you can start reading the second you make your purchase. So again, powerfoodslifestyle.com. Make sure you're following on Instagram at Power Foods Lifestyle, as well as join our private group on Facebook, Power Foods Lifestyle Champions. Everything I do is to help each of you be a little better, stand a little stronger, live a higher quality life. So today, I wanted to take you through some of the mindset work that I do with clients when they're finding difficulty in following through and complying to the strategy that we know is optimal for their body, but they just can't get their heart and their mind on board. So if you have ever been in that space, if you've ever felt extremely frustrated, if you felt like, why am I doing this to myself? I know better, I know better, I know better. Why am I not following through? One second you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it, guys. You like make a social media post. You're like, yeah, woohoo, I'm doing this. Focus, healthy, hashtag lifestyle change. 4 hours later, you bypass some cookies and you're like fistfulling it. You're like, what on earth is wrong with me? Does this sound familiar? Well, I will venture to say there's nothing wrong with you. And please, let's get rid of that thought that something's wrong with you, because there's not. I'd like to give you some information that will help you begin to address this from a new standpoint. Everything I do is more from a psychotherapeutic approach. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I am an everyday person who has engaged very heavily in the past 5 years and spent a lot of money investing in myself to learn these things so I can better understand it for myself, as well as teach each of my body buddies. So the first thing we want to remember is that your subconscious mind is 90% of all of your decisions. That's what spurs it. That's what causes it. And 10% of your decisions come from your conscious mind. In other words, the active focus of your day. So if you are making decisions constantly, you're relying upon willpower, you're having to power think your way through things, you're probably quickly using up your conscious mind. Subconscious is things that you're not aware of in your the prefrontal cortex. That's a part of your brain that is aware of things. So right now, you've been listening to me talk and you haven't been aware that you've had blood pumping from your left and your right ventricle through your body. You haven't realized that you have pulsing of blood in your right ear. You haven't noticed your lungs inhaling and the oxygen inhaling and exhaling, your lungs expanding, and you haven't noticed any of that because that is all going on in the subconscious. Well, the same thing happens with our actions. The subconscious mind is every external thought, behavior, experience, something somebody else said, something you observed, something you saw, an advertisement, any little thing that has happened from the time you were born. And I would venture to say, I do believe there is some subconscious programming that comes from before birth. And I know that's a little out there for some people, but I have had interesting experiences as I've worked with people on that. Again, I'm not licensed in this. I'm not licensed to do regression therapy, but I help people think deeply and feel and become more spiritually in tune with themselves. And that's it. I'm just a friend. Okay. So lest you think I'm like, yeah, I'm Kristy Jo. That's all I am. So anyhow, I really do believe that every little thing we experience in our lives programs us. Programming essentially indicates the paradigm that you have. A paradigm, which for those people who've never heard that word before, it's spelled P-A-R-A-D-I-G-M. I remember the first time I heard that word, I was like, a pair of dimes? You got 2 dimes? Like 10 cents? No, it's the lens through which you view the world. It's your perspective, your point of view, your understanding, assumptions, rationalization, etc. And so every single person on this earth has a different paradigm, which number one lends credence to the fact that we should never judge other people. Instead, we seek to understand, to respect. We don't have to agree. Because yes, our paradigm will be different. If it weren't, I'd be really concerned that you were so involved in mimicking another person's paradigm and having these same experiences as them that you weren't creating your own authentic self. So think about your past. Think about your childhood, the way you grew up, the way your parents, or maybe foster parents or grandparents or whoever raised you, how were their opinions and their attitudes towards food? Was food a good thing? Was food a restricted thing? Did you have a mother or a grandmother or an aunt who was extremely paranoid about gaining weight? If so, will you have an enhanced awareness of your own body composition? Absolutely. Absolutely you will. If you were never given healthy foods growing up, you have a paradigm where that's not natural to you. Transitioning to a healthy lifestyle as the way of living is going to be a little bit rougher than somebody like myself who did grow up eating vegetables at main meals and snacking on them and having them be a part of life. That wasn't weird to me. Now, you know, when I added them into breakfast and then every meal, of course, that was a transition for me. But you have to realize that your way that you look at food right now is absolutely as a result of the way you were raised. I think back to even like 6th and 7th grade, where a bunch of my friends would be sitting at the cafeteria table and everyone had their different food choices. Maybe one day they had these big long breadsticks with nacho cheese, and sometimes they had those little 25-cent little Debbie snacks. Who knows if they're even 25 cents anymore? That makes me feel old. And I remember very, very, very clearly one of my friends telling me when I got Swiss rolls for lunch, she's like, those are going to make you fat. I have never forgotten that. That's called programming. That is called programming. And so when you look at foods as good or bad, that is due to the fact that somewhere, somehow, somebody told you it was good or bad. And I need you to undo that. We need to look at foods as strategic or non-strategic, which we have to change the words because it is very difficult to change the connotation associated with a word when it's been programmed in for so many years. And that's why I'm very heavy on changing our vernacular with the Power Foods lifestyle and all that we do here at Body Buddies with mindset, nutrition, and fitness. And so one of the starting points for that new vernacular is strategic or non-strategic foods. Another one is we call them indulgence meals, not cheats. We don't use the word cheat. Another one is we don't say fat and skinny. We say lean, tight, defined, toned, or we say a little bit fluffier, softer, less tight. And it just changes the way we start to interpret this. And if we're not calling upon the typical programming, which is responsive immediately to particular emotions within yourself, do you understand what I'm saying? If you use a particular word, there is an immediately programmed emotion, whether you sense it or not. It could just be felt in the subconscious that is felt. Therefore, if you are finding yourself not following through, sabotaging yourself, it's because your subconscious is running the show. Your subconscious mind, again, is the sum of all experiences. So does that mean you're a victim for the rest of your life? Does that mean, oh my gosh, my subconscious is programmed to the negative? And sometimes I'll pause because I'm struggling to find the right word. It's very interesting to me, having done this for a few years now. There are certain words that just are almost blocked from coming out of my mouth as we talk about these topics. And so if that happens again, you'll realize I'm searching for a new word. So anyhow, even the word good and bad, to me, it's so definitive. It leaves no room for anything but either you're in or you're out. It's a really ludicrous way of having all or nothing thinking that ultimately ends up ruining a lot of people's efforts, and they swing towards a little more apathy, frustration, depression, anger, and straight up surrender. And so anyhow, I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it's really interesting to explore this. And for some of you who have grown used to doing this sort of introspection or work around the mindset, or you've done some personal development in the past or currently doing it, you'll find that this is a little more natural to you. But some of you listening to this may feel really almost sticky inside, like and that's okay. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, doesn't mean it's not a fit. It just means it's new. It's a new way of thinking, and our brain is kind of like, it's got a little squeak, and we need some WD-40 to help it just move and maneuver and navigate a little more easily. So that's all we're doing. So be patient with yourself as you're thinking in these realms. So the next time you sabotage, I want you to consider, where did this choice come from? What was going on in the situation? What were my emotions? And this can be really difficult to assess. And it does require honesty, which a lot of people don't like to be honest with themselves. They like to sweep it under the rug. Now that's, guys, not the place for any of our decisions to go in life, because if we're not being honest with ourselves, my goodness, we're kind of evading the entire purpose of life, which is progression, growth, self-awareness, personal development. I think it's a refining process of the soul. Now, that doesn't mean we have to be in an all-out sprint, but we do need to be aware and seek to improve, be a little better today than we were yesterday. That's it. Just be a little better. So anyhow, asking yourself what was going on, what emotions? Well, emotions come from thoughts, and thoughts come from life events. I talk about this in my Power Your Life Today YouTube session, which if you have not yet found my YouTube channel, that's where I talk 100% mental discipline. Just search for it, on YouTube, Power Your Life Today. It's the episode, I want to say it's number 21, 22, or 23. It's called How to Break Addictive Habits or Behavior, something around addiction. Go watch that. All my power sessions are only 5 to 7 minutes long. They're designed to just get you thinking, journal a little bit, and move forward thinking a little more clearly with a new tool in your tool belt. Those little topics are also, just so you know, those are the very things that I work with people on individually in our fitness and nutrition coaching. It's quite interesting that I focus 90% psychology in interaction with clients. Usually the first month is strategy. I'll teach them education on nutrition, science, fitness. But if they are avidly listening to the podcast and have read the book, it's incredible how quickly the science just clicks and makes sense. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but I've made it very simple to understand. And if it's still feeling hard, you haven't absorbed yourself enough in my stuff. So keep going, keep going, keep going. It's not a sprint, but do seek to make progress. As you're aware of your self-sabotage, asking yourself, what default thoughts did I have? So oftentimes we get into an irrational way of thinking, and if you get very clear and you have to pull out or extract a sentence, a full sentence of what your thoughts were, it's 9 times out of 10 people will say, this sounds so stupid, but, and I'm like, and this is exactly the point, because we have to bring the subconscious to the conscious so we can look at it square in the face and say, that is a completely irrational, illogical thought. Now, please don't be saying stupid thought, and I know many people are tempted to say that. No. Remember, it's all about the words we use, because your subconscious is listening. Have you ever heard those quotes? Be careful what you say. Your body is listening. Yeah, it's not your body, though. It's your subconscious mind. It's the behavior, the very energy system that spurs all your behavior. So anyhow, when you recognize those thoughts, here are a few irrational thoughts that I come across constantly with people who are struggling to follow through on their nutrition compliance. Irrational thought number 1, I'm never going to change because I've never changed in the past. Well, that's completely irrelevant. That's based on past evidence. And the fact is, it's false. It's 100% false, because you are a new person every second of the day. You are evolving. You don't have the same cells in your body. You don't have the same brain cells. You don't have the same... Your subconscious is being programming with every little syllable I am saying. Your subconscious is starting to become programmed. And so you are never the same person that you were a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. And so if that is the case, then this statement that I will never succeed because I never have is completely false. And you can eliminate that thought because you bring it to the logical and you state, I am a progressive person. I am always changing and improving, and my habits, my mindset, my level of education and awareness is different, it's enhanced, it is optimized beyond what it was in the past, and I have every ounce of faith in myself that I will follow through, because all I need to do is focus on one meal, one workout, and one day at a time. I focus on the battle that is on the battlefield. I don't worry about battles that are going to be fought 2 weeks down the road or 1 month down the road. I focus on the battle at hand. And if I can win the battle at hand, I will win the war. And that is how we eliminate irrational, illogical thoughts. Here's another one. When you've got sweets everywhere, or you've maybe indulged a little bit and you've gone a little bit overboard, maybe it's a full out binge already, maybe it's just a cookie or two, but the mindset plays in the back of your mind, which is, well, you've already screwed it up, may as well enjoy it. I'm sure if I could see every single one of you listening to this podcast, you'd be raising your hand saying, yes, I've experienced that before. We all have, okay? If you haven't experienced it, I'd venture to say you are truly a 100% true and blue moderator. My goodness. Good for you. So if you have experienced that, it's because the brain will default to this all or nothing thinking. Again, it comes back to our perception of words that are used, connotations. Another reason why we are very careful about the words we use and changing that awareness, the connection to certain words. So you really need to, at that point, it's really critical that you bring it to the logical and you state to yourself, probably out loud in order to beat these irrational voices, which is, well, may as well enjoy it, may as well get rid of this out of the house so then I don't have to worry about it. False, 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 false. Okay? Another one is money. Oh, well, I'll save money by eating this because I don't want to waste the money I spent for this food. That happens a lot with parents, with kids. This happens a lot with food you've paid at a restaurant or just bought. No! Is it really going to do your body good from eating it and save you money? I'd venture to say you're losing money because you are having to then put that much more money into your future self when you're that frustrated and you have to buy these super expensive programs, or you ultimately let these habits wreak havoc in your life and suddenly you have a medical condition, your insurance premiums go up, your hospital bills go up. What are you going to do then? Are you really saving money? Bring it to the logical. Bring it to the logical. And then here's the other thing. Okay, let's just talk straight up science. Okay, so you may have put 50 to 100 grams of carbs in your body. Okay, so you think that putting 700 more grams of carbs in your body isn't going to do anything? Bullcrap. I'm going to call BS on that, because that's when, your body may have been able to handle those 2 or 3 cookies. Yeah, maybe you just got a little bit full of glycogen. Your body's going to break down that glucose. It attracts 4 molecules of water per gram of glycogen. So yes, you're going to weigh a little bit more. So freaking stay off the scale. You sabotage yourself every time you step on that scale, not knowing the science of how your body holds water. Can you tell that it really pisses me off? It pisses me off because that's how I used to be. And I work so hard to help you guys understand this so you stop sabotaging yourself and stop living in the hell that you are and that I lived in for over 20 years. You gotta stop this. You've gotta bring it to the logical, the rational. You've got to learn this lingo so you can talk yourself through it. Putting an additional anywhere from another 100 to, my goodness, it could even full on binge. And we're talking that could be excess of 1,000 grams of carbs. Breaks down to straight up sugar in your body. You want to talk spillover from glycogen storage? Yeah, your body's going to be pumped full of glycogen. You're going to have a mega pump, especially if you're a lifter. That doesn't mean that you're not getting spillover body fat, though. And even if this has nothing to do with body composition, simply the mindset, the discipline, the apathy versus obsessiveness battle that is waged all day, every day, and in multiple categories of life. If you can win it and beat it in one area of your life, you will start to beat it in other areas of your life. And I'd venture to say that will take your level of living up. So, I could talk on this topic for hours. I love this topic, but I have arrived at my destination. What I need each of you to do is get very clear on what the top lies or irrational, illogical thoughts that you allow your subconscious to feed you. I need you to write those down. Get very clear on them so you can start to recognize them when they appear. You're going to put a line through them, and you are going to write in a rational, logical way the refuting of that statement. And I'd like you to read those every day. Read the illogical immediately followed by the logical so that you can get used to identifying those illogical, irrational thoughts when they pop in your head and quickly refuting them. When you do this for 2 weeks, you will start to do it naturally. You will begin to recognize the lies, the artificiality, and the way that your subconscious mind has been running your life. And it's time now to take the driver's seat of your brain, of your life, of every part of your decisions and behavior. You deserve to have a powerful life, and power is dominion over ourselves. Power is ability to control our emotions, to determine the amount of value and contribution we give this world, to live fully, love openly, to experience more value, both from giving and receiving. This is the life I believe God intended for us to have. And the pathway for me, and maybe for many of you, to understand this deeper has been the body. Nutrition, fitness, and mindset. I will be forever grateful for this pathway that I've been blessed with to better understand the true purpose of life. I hope that each of you will consider joining my 8-week challenge. You can start it whenever, any Monday. Head over to powerfoodslifestyle.com/8-week challenge. That's the number 8 and week challenge. And you'll learn what this challenge is. It's the best way to lay the groundwork and learn all of the, especially the science part of what I'm talking about with fitness and nutrition. But most importantly, give yourself that 8 weeks to begin reprogramming. Give yourself that focus, that time. It's not a competition against other people. It is for you to begin the pattern to have a true lifestyle change, but not just do better and eat healthier. That's very subpar. Strategy. Strategy is what takes us from point A to point B to win the war. Power your body, one meal, one workout, one day at a time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.POWERFOODS-lifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.